Good. Okay, let's kick things off. Welcome everyone to the 26th reoccurring TELx Council meeting. I can't believe we've come this way already. It's been a full year. We've got an election cycle already past us. Exciting times ahead, I know. But so just to give everybody an update on the purpose of these reoccurring meetings. They do have essential functions in supporting transparent and effective governance. So they're here to provide transparency to the community, establish structure and organization for the council forums, enable authors to present their proposals to both the council and the broader community, to facilitate, review, debate, and refine of proposals to achieve a consensus and mutual understanding before, again, they go to kind of voting purposes, to deliver regular updates on the TELx ecosystem, ensure consistent communication between council members and the community, and allow the community to engage directly in Q&A with us, the council members. So the TELx Council is a local governance body tasked with overseeing TELx operational rules, ensuring system health, and supporting social well-being within the entirety of the ecosystem. So the overview of the TELx Council is to review, develop, and vote on TELx IP proposals, to introduce or modify elements of the TELx system, adjust TELx harvesting rules, and represent the interests of their constituency in all matters related to TELx. So specific duties that the TELx Council is responsible for: planning, financing, and coordinating the implementation of improvements to the TELx ecosystem, regulating the issuance and distributions of TEL for harvesting by liquidity miners, introducing, modifying, and enforcing TELx operational rules, including those related to harvesting communication, maintenance, and construction. And finally, informing miners of council activities, outcomes, and results from snapshot votes. Speaking of those snapshot votes, all council members must participate in these snapshot votes. A proposal requires a majority of 5 out of 6 in order to pass, and all votes must be cast within 5 days of the proposal being posted to snapshot. So that is our little intro. Let's go through a quick recap of last week, and then we'll jump into the agenda for this week's meeting. So recap, obviously timing-wise worked out well. I think, Ty, you were the one hosting when the news came across, the celebration, obviously, of the milestone with Telcoin securing a digital banking license. And also we had obviously the new Uphold exchange listing too. So I think we know a couple of weeks ago, it was a pretty hectic day. I think that was on the 12th, if I'm not mistaken. So lots of things kind of were going on top of the meetings that we had. We obviously had the elections conclude with quorum being met, and we had appointments to 2 new international members. We have Boo from the UK and Eric from Holland to the TELx Council. So I can see Boo is here. I'm not sure if Eric has joined. Oh, yeah, I see Eric there as well. So great. We also talked about technical discussions centered on the Uniswap v4 implementation, while introducing a new claim portal, replacing airdrops for the existing or the previous temporary reward distribution plans that we had. We also talked about progress on the TELx University, with all 3 curriculum sections being drafted. The meeting covered concentrated liquidity risks and benefits, with guidance for beginners to start with small amounts and simpler balancer pool before advancing to kind of the further modules within Uniswap v4. We'll have more updates on that a little bit more today too. And then finally, we talked about UI improvements to the TELx website, just for better displays, the subscription NFT positions, and council members will undergo, obviously, the KYM compliance and process before receiving their NFTs and voting rights, which we did get updates today that essentially happened this afternoon, probably within the last hour or 2. So that was the recap from last week. So similar topics for the agenda for this week. We got the Uniswap v4 hook, kind of rewards, cycles, recaps, observations, and stuff like that. TELx website and UI updates from Halil. Updates on TELx University. We'll talk about the new members, obviously getting KYM status just recently and having them onboarded. Ty, I know we keep talking about the Treasury Operations for year 3. I'm still thinking that might be a little bit more Treasury related, but we can touch on that afterwards. And then some of us on the council also had a recent meeting with Merkl. So we'll dive into what Merkl is, how there might be some possible integrations in the future, and kind of what the plans are for next steps. So speaking to the Uniswap v4 hooks, there was some pretty good conversation, I would say, within the community, specifically in the Telegram channel, the TELx pool tips. If you're not familiar with that Telegram channel, we could provide links to that. But essentially, the goal of that Telegram channel is for specific liquidity miners to ask questions, get better understanding to everything and anything TELx related. So there were some good conversations in there about the specifics of Uniswap v4, how it's working, some feedback, and everything like that. So we'll post a link as well to a document that Marcus put together with some details specifically around that, going into a little bit more detail about the different types of liquidity providers, and defining in a little bit more detail too on what constitutes a passive liquidity provider, an active one, and a just-in-time one. And through those conversations on Telegram as well, we were able to get a better understanding of what constitutes a liquidity modification. Through that, specifically, one of those things was the claim of the fees, which counts as one liquidity modification. And based off the rules that we have set forth with the hook and everything, essentially you're allowed to make one liquidity modification per 24 hours. If you do make a secondary liquidity modification within that 24-hour span, you then become an active liquidity provider and then are not eligible for rewards within that period. And that is currently based off the structure of how we've split the rewards, being 100% going to passive, 0 going to active, and 0 going to just in time. Again, that is something that we can alter and adjust going forward. But at this time, through what we saw with the temporary airdrops and a big portion of the rewards going to just-in-time liquidity providers and active liquidity providers, the goal for us, obviously with the TELx Council, is to incentivize the TELfam, the Telcoin community, the Telcoin users who are actually involved in the ecosystem, not just people that are trying to gain yield through Uniswap, so to speak, right? So our focus is to pay more attention to the individuals within the community providing liquidity, and that's why we've made that decision at this time to put 100% of the rewards to the passive liquidity providers. So what we're going to do too is we're probably going to have an internal meeting next week, I would assume. I know Marcus and Ty and Leo, we've loosely talked about that, just to kind of get an overarching understanding of how the reward script is going with some of the feedback that we've got from the community. Are there any adjustments that we need to make? Putting together proper documentation that fully details the scope of Uniswap v4, how they function, how they work, how the reward scripts work, how you're eligible, what is classified, with examples, what is a liquidity modification event, and then some FAQs around, okay, if I didn't get rewards, why is that the case? Well, it might be this, it might be that, it might be this. So the goal is to get together internally as a team and review everything from a high level, put those details down on paper, and then get that reviewed by the TAO, make sure everybody's okay from that perspective. We'll post that out to the community. We're going to put that onto the TELx website as well, along with providing the weekly reward scripts. So we'll have essentially like a database archive where you'll be able to look back and see, okay, in period 13, essentially, which is when we started Uniswap v4, that you can look back and see, okay, well, how many providers were there? How many modifications did they make? What were the fees that they kind of generated, so that you can kind of try to review it and get a better understanding? Because I know there's been a couple of people that have been asking for kind of APR projections and all that kind of stuff, which is very tough to do with Uniswap. Obviously with Balancer, it's a little bit easier because it's based off liquidity. And as liquidity goes up and down, obviously those rewards adjust based off your liquidity pool tokens. But with Uniswap v4, in the way that we've structured it, it's going to be based off fees. So that's going to have an impact on the amount of liquidity you're putting in, plus the range that you're putting the liquidity provisions to. in terms of generating fees. So we just got to keep that in mind. If we do move forward with trying to put, a general or an average APR for the Uniswap pools, there will be an asterisk because it's going to be based on individual fees versus the rest within that period. So I feel like I've been talking for an hour already, even though it's only been 10 minutes, but I'll open it up to the floor and see if anybody has some comments specifically on the Uniswap V4 stuff.
Let me jump in, Andrew. I monitor my own personal APR very closely through the use of an Excel spreadsheet. And basically what I do is I look at the time I entered the pool and I look at the current time. So therefore I've got an accurate duration. And then I can look at the fees that I've received within that time, see how that compares as a percentage to my investment, my dollar investment, and then extrapolate that out to the year. So that gives me a very close and accurate APR, but I should say it varies wildly because if you do go in and out of range, and it doesn't really take into account the rewards because they only come on a weekly basis, so it gets adjusted once a week as well. So monitoring and calculating APR is a dark art in itself, to be honest.
For sure, and everybody's going to manage that differently, right? Like I would say it's on each individual to manage and track and monitor and review and evaluate kind of as the reward scripts out. But again, like I think the broader community just wants to get an understanding of, okay, like if I decide to invest the time and the energy and the money into V4, like in general, what could I get? So I think that's more along the lines of what we can try to do based on that average. But to your point, Ty, everything is going to be up and down depending on the fees you accrue within that period versus everybody else's fees. But Boo, I noticed you had your hand up.
Yeah, just a clarification for when you get the meeting organized. If a user is earning rewards for a number of days of the week and they then make a couple of changes, does that mean there's no rewards for the week or no rewards from then onwards? If you can get that clarified,
it's
please.
Within that period. So essentially, if you halfway through the period become what is classified as an active liquidity provider within that period, you will be weighted at 0% of the reward. So that's why, again, part of the conversation that we're probably going to have, and the reason why we wanted to push it to next week, Boo, was to include you and Eric in it as well. Obviously, knowing that you guys are new and going through the KYM process, we wanted to make sure that you guys were involved in these conversations, just getting into it. But essentially, that's it. If you are deemed an active liquidity provider within that period, you will essentially get 0 rewards for that period. But within that conversation that we have, the 24-hour, reset clock, we'll have a conversation of, does 24 hours make sense? Do we need to adjust that number? Does it go down to 12? Does it go down to 6? Again, we'll have that conversation. And I think part of what I want to do too, loving data and analytics, is I kind of want to try to review the current, period 13, 14, and 15 that should be coming soon, just to see, how often are wallets making modifications and seeing whether or not it makes sense to adjust it. And we can kind of make a decision based on data as opposed to just making a decision based on what we think and what we feel. So it'll probably be a blend of both, but I think we want to get everybody's opinion on that as we have that internal meeting.
Okay, sounds good.
Beautiful. Anybody else have any other questions about V4? I'm not seeing any in.
I'd like to bring Mike in to the conversation on the EXM pool because I sort of jump between Base and Polygon, but never USDMXN. So I know Mike's in that pool.
Yeah. In the conversation, in what regard do you? What information do you?
Oh, just to see how you're kind of feeling about the reward structure, how do you modify your periods frequently because it's a stable pool, or do you just drop
Oh,
some of
sure. Yeah. So I think, that's a different pool and a different sort of mentality where you have to use a tighter range, of course, because it's two stable assets. Now, it's not USDC and EMXN or USDC and EUSD, which would be a one-to-one relationship. So there is some Forex risk. So your tightness of range you can get put out of range just based upon mid-market Forex rates changing, more than a percentage point or two, which can happen, especially in unstable, third world assets. But for the most part, I think that my experience has been good, and you do have to set tighter. So trying to find the range where you're going to get a certain amount of yield based upon volume that's traded in those pools. Of course, there's not much volume in that pool at the moment, in any of the EXYZ stablecoins, but I think we can all anticipate that will change pretty dramatically in the coming year. And so it's still sort of too early to say what you could anticipate for a yield for providing liquidity at EXYZ at this stage of the game. It'll obviously be higher in early days for any EXYZ pool. Then as liquidity increases, the returns will probably decrease over as those pools become very large. But for now, it's a pretty nice yield in that pool, and so I've been happy with it.
Yeah, thanks, Mike.
I would say regarding how we would like to display APY, Andrew, I'm sure you're familiar with all these different platforms like DeFi Llama and these other, Revert uses all their calculations. They calculate APY on concentrated liquidity pools based upon a plus or minus either 15% or 30% in liquidity concentration. I think as long as we have a standard that we could apply to all of the pools, that way you have a sort of an apples to apples comparison between, say, TEL ETH, TEL Bitcoin, TEL USDC, based upon like a standard sort of concentrated liquidity range. So that's something to consider when we discuss that.
Yeah, no, that's perfectly fine with me. I'm happy with standards and keeping things balanced. Nothing wrong with that. I think just at the end of the day, in generalities, when you come to the TELx website, a general idea of what you could potentially earn is probably good to display. I know most protocols that have liquidity pools or liquidity provisions do state that. So we'll get there. It's just focus right now is a little bit more on the educational piece as opposed to the data and analytics. And I think once we kind of get the educational side of things going, we'll transition after that to data and analytics and incorporating that into the website as well. Beautiful. Okay. Kate, let's move on. If there are any questions related to V4, feel free to pop them in the chats. Dali, I see you're asking when I'm going to get a new PFP. We're going to have to talk about that because we'll have to see what we can do to adjust some things. Nothing to worry about there. Eric, I see you've raised your hand. Please come up.
Yeah, good evening. The whole active passive, the liquidity providing the rewards. Therefore, did you guys invent the wheel, or is this been done in other protocols already?
That's a great question. I'm not sure if there is. What I can say is, and we'll jump into the Merkl side of things too in a bit, but when we had that conversation with the CEO of Merkl, we basically told him kind of what we were looking at doing with rewards and, the fact that we already had a hook kind of in place. He's like, wow, you guys already have a V4 hook that's live and audited and ready to go? Oh, wow. Oh, cool. So whether or not we're, first, trend setting. I think it was more so looking at how the temporary rewards were functioning and being distributed. And the goals of what we wanted to do as a TELx council is to provide the ecosystem and the participants within our Telcoin ecosystem, right? And we don't want to be airdropping, TEL to random people that, may not even know about Telcoin. They're just bots that are, looking at the meme pools and adding liquidity for, 10 seconds while, a swap goes through and then it gets pulled out, right? So we want to continue to incentivize active, I guess I shouldn't use that word with the way that we've broken it down, but passive liquidity providers within the Telcoin ecosystem. So,
I mean, the just-in-time strategy, Eric, is a kind of well-established strategy for maximizing gains in these concentrated liquidity pools. So we certainly didn't invent that term, and it's a well-known strategy that that people use to maximize their yield. And so we really just used that as a basis and then said, well, how does the other groups break down? Well, there's passive that just want to provide liquidity and are happy to leave it in and monitor their position occasionally. And then there's the active ones that are trying to, manipulate the range more frequently. And so it's to be a natural division of strategy breakdown. So I don't think we invented anything.
No. But for me, it was a first, because for me the terms, I think for most people in DeFi and liquidity providers, it's passive and active. It's I understood some different. It's active when you're in the range and passive when you're out of range. This was a new concept for me. I understand. I think it's actually a good idea to. If you look at what you want to incentivize and not, but I can see there is some tension between V3, V4 liquidity providers, where you want to manage your range. You're more you're easier to get out of range. So I can see there's some tension there maybe between the whole setup. But
yeah, of course, V3 you don't have the ability of hooks. V4 you've got that programmatically side to it. So with a V3 position, it's all manual. With a V4, you've got the ability for normal users with a little bit of skill, to add in a hook that may or may not have been written by themselves, or third-party hooks. And so the landscape changes slightly when you move from V3 to V4.
Yeah. All right. Thanks.
Beautiful. Okay, let's continue on. So next,
got his hand up, Andrew.
pardon me?
Derek's got his hand up.
Oh, sorry, Derek. Yeah, go ahead, buddy.
No, it's okay. I just had a question to that point, Ty. Technically speaking, could somebody use their own hook on this pool?
No.
Okay. I don't think I never asked that before. So
yeah, the hook is essentially attached to the creation of the pool. So it's only that's why the temporary pools that we did have, we couldn't use those because they were already existing pools.
I'm not sure, but Andrew, I think if you just went in and selected our V3, you create a position and you say you want a V4 position and you want to use ETH and TEL, then you're not going through the TELx link, so you've not got the hook attached automatically. You can select your own hook and then put in a hook address. So I think it is possible to
the hook
use
address, which would be the one that we developed, though. I think what Derek's question was somebody creating a totally different hook, unless I'm understanding that different.
right. No, that is. And
No, that's right. You can't.
Go ahead,
sorry, Derek. Sorry to cut you off, but yes, you can't. If you don't go in through the TELx linked hook to the pool, you can just go in.
Rewards.
Right. Yeah, but you could just go and create a hook in a TEL ETH pool on V4. Yes.
Right. Okay. That's what I thought. I just wanted to be sure. But obviously, the subscribe function requires it to be through the TELx site. So I just was clarifying. So we could see, technically, you could see people that create their own hooks in the pool, right? But they wouldn't be eligible for the rewards incentives.
That's correct. Yep.
Okay. Cool. Thanks, guys.
Okay. Are we finally ready to move on? I'm happy to talk about V4 all day, but All right, let's jump to the TELx website updates. Halil was able to put together just a list of updates. So I'm just going to kind of read them quickly, just so everybody knows. But we're actively working on making other adjustments too. I believe, Mike, if you're still available tonight, we're going to be meeting with Halil to kind of walk through the website and provide some further feedback. But up to this point so far, what he's done is the Uniswap position added. So users can now view their active Uniswap positions in corresponding pools on the portfolio page. You've got the subscribe and unsubscribe function for the Uniswap pools. And you've got the management for those pools as well, allowing users to subscribe and unsubscribe as they earn rewards. You've got the Uniswap rewards cards, which display rewards for both Polygon and Base, including claimable rewards, specifically for the differentiation between Uniswap and Balancer. You've got the claim functionality integrated, which implemented the rewards claim feature for Uniswap pools within TELx. Also, we were able to collapse the sections because it was big. If you've got 4 or 5 positions within a pool, you are able to now at least expand and collapse that for just a better UX. You've got compact status badges, which reduce badge size for a cleaner visual hierarchy. You've got position ID relocation, which basically moved them to the right side and updated the label from token ID to position ID. Label refinement, updated active positions to your positions. Position count added, so this displays the total number of positions for users. The reward period, so this was on the pool side. So we updated the labels to show per 7 days as opposed to per 30. So Balancer was showing the rewards on a monthly basis, whereas Uniswap was showing them on a weekly basis. So we just wanted to unify that across the board. So everything is now displayed from a rewards perspective on a weekly basis. Protocol columns added, which was a new protocol column to identify between Balancer, Uniswap, and any potential other pools that we may want to do in the past or in the future. Sorry. There was a scroll bar too that we kind of cleaned up, just a better visual, and then a header backdrop that was blurred. So added a subtitle backdrop blur to the header to enhance the UX. So these were the things that Halil had worked on previously, and then we've got that meeting coming up tonight to just kind of walk through some more stuff. I know I've got some other feedback for Halil, but we'll kind of walk through that tonight. Ty, looks like you got a question.
Yeah, no, just in addition, excuse me, there was a problem on the pools page displaying for the base pool, displaying the TVL. There was a huge discrepancy between what we were displaying on TELx and what Uniswap were displaying for the TVL. And I noticed over the last 12 hours, Khalil had pulled in the correct data. So that should be added to that list.
Was that the subgraph issue?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, so this list that Halil sent me was probably late last week, maybe early this week. So if you guys made some adjustments within the last 24, 48 hours, then yeah, it would not have been added to the list I had. Boo, you also had a comment?
Yes, I believe Ty mentioned this briefly last week, the possibility of some cleanup of Uniswap v4 positions and subscriptions may be needed, but I've noticed some issues. I had 3 positions go out of range. I had 3 very tight ranges, and I've opened some new ones. And now those 3 closed positions appear at the top of my pool. So I've now got 8 entries instead of 5.
Yep.
And over time, these are going to accumulate and they're going to get worse, of course.
For sure.
I've got a small change request for Halil, if possible. Similar to the Uniswap v4 UI, I wonder if we can have the ability in TELx to hide individual pool positions. So, for example, if you have a closed position, you can exclude it from view. That way you can just keep your active or unsubscribed options on view and hide your closed positions. Does that make sense?
No, totally. And I don't know if Ty, if that was you that brought that up too, but just to try to clean up that essentially the portfolio page, just to have it a little bit cleaner, a little bit neater, not too much detail, especially on ones that are either unsubscribed or closed. So totally, totally good call there, Boo.
Absolutely. That's a great idea.
Yeah, Boo, we could talk offline too, and Eric, whether or not you guys are available later today. We'll have to look at the time changes and whatnot and see, but I think it might be a little bit late for you guys to, because I think we're scheduled for 10 p.m. Eastern. I think for you, Mike, it was 9. But for Halil, I think that's like 8 in the morning. So, okay, we'll follow up with some more UX UI updates on TELx as they continue to come up as we further review and enhance things. Okay, so next on the list, not seeing any questions so far yet. Okay, TELx University. So essentially, there's been a couple of us. Ty has been pretty instrumental, Leo as well. But I want to call out the team at Storm, specifically Zach. I know he's listening in here, but he's been a powerhouse, putting a lot of the details in this for us to review. And he's done a really, really, really good job with putting all this stuff together. So over the last couple of weeks, we've been really diving in, reviewing, honing in on the video scripts, just to make sure that the language, the details, and everything is accurate. So we did get kind of final approval from the TELx Council, from the TAO, and most recently, Zach has started putting those video scripts into actual videos. So I think it was as of yesterday, some of those were put forward. I haven't had time to fully review those yet, but I intend to soon. But I would say with that, as long as the videos are looking good, I know we've got to get it connected to the TELx website as well too. But I think the goal, which I think is fair, is to get it done within the next month and get it out, at least the beginners module, by end of year. So I don't know if anybody had any specific questions on the university, but I'm really excited about it. We really wanted to dive into more specifics on the beginner side of things, really understanding, how do grandma and grandpa really get involved and really dumb things down as much as possible. Sneak peeks, we'll hold off on that. Maybe we'll do some posts, Nick, and maybe just kind of tease that as we get a little bit closer with some of the videos and some of the, I guess the website that's going to be hosting it. But we're getting really close, I think.
I do think it's worth letting Boo and Eric.
Sure. Yeah, that's fair.
They've got access to Slack now. I don't know if they've got access to the Notion.
That would be through Storm, so I think we would just have to touch base with Ramias or Julio and just make sure that they have access to it as well.
I've gone through probably 3/4 of the first module that's been automated, and it's I think I gave some feedback to Zach and the Storm guys. It's really spooky seeing what we've been working on a textual basis translated into a moving, living being, AI being. Yeah.
Just wait until we have your voiceover on one of them.
Oh no, I wouldn't impose that on anybody, to be honest.
We've already got rave reviews from was it Aries' daughter?
Yeah. Well, let's not go there today.
No. Boo, comment?
Yeah, just to confirm, I haven't got access to anything yet, so I'm still waiting for the KYM process to complete. So no Slack or anything just yet.
Okay, I did see. I think a couple have joined. I think Angelica and James. I saw them joining on Slack this afternoon. So I'll follow up with Leo, Boo, and Eric, and just make sure that you guys have email addresses, access to Slack, and then once you guys have your email addresses, we'll just make sure that those are linked to Notion, which is where Storm puts all of their information that for us to review. So I'll take the lead on that, working with Leo from the TAL, just to make sure that everything is up to date, ready to go, and you guys have access to everything that you need.
Okay.
So that kind of go. Yeah, go Ty.
Sorry, I was going to say I see Storm are in the room, so I don't know if they want to add anything to what we've said, Zach or MS.
No, just really want to confirm everything you guys just said. It's been a great project. It's beautiful seeing it come to life, and beginner module ready to roll, ready to publish. We just want to tease it out to the public, and yeah, intermediate and expert tracks are also in process. Those are the ones where the complexity will increase a bit, trying to find a balance between challenging the students while not being patronizing to those that already know the content. I mean, you shouldn't be able to read the quiz page and answer all the questions if you haven't taken the course, but at the same time, you shouldn't be way outside of your scope. So these next modules are going to require a bit more kind of student psychology built into them, but we're super excited. Can't wait to get it out. And we're right in line with Andrew's schedule of doing a teased out kind of university launch over the next week or two, meeting the deadline of launching it by end of year with the next tracks to follow at the new year. So yeah, Zach has been really the architect behind it all. It also gave us a glimpse into really the work ethic of the TELx Council and how they have their end users' best interest really at heart. So it was an impressive project that evolved into a pretty cool exercise. So yeah, we're happy with it.
Beautiful. Thank you, Ermias. Okay, well, that does go into our next, as we were talking about the KYC, KYM process, all that kind of stuff. So obviously we want to welcome our new TELx Council members. We have Eric and we have Boo. So guys, we're looking forward to working with both of you in obviously a much deeper capacity. I know we've kind of connected, on and off through DMs, through, all the different kind of social platforms, but it's great to have both of you on and the experience that you bring. So looking forward to, continued collaboration and, pushing TELx forward. Just kind of as Ermias said, I think our goal is to continue to make things as easy and as simple as possible for the end user, because the better we can do that, I think the more we can attract that liquidity and more users to the ecosystem, right? And we play a pretty pivotal role in the machine of Telcoin, being the liquidity engine, right? Without liquidity, it's hard for that engine to really keep running. So I'm really looking forward to this next year and how things progress. But again, welcome, gentlemen. Happy to have you, and looking forward to the next year.
Thank you very much.
Hey, Andrew. Just on that note, I do see that there is access in the channels. So it does look like the emails are set up. I would expect that to come through pretty shortly in your guys' personal emails. So looks like we're good.
Perfect. Thank you, sir. Next up, Ty, I don't know if you wanted to touch on Treasury Operations stuff. I know we kind of are getting close to year 3 budget discussions and all that kind of stuff. With the holiday Thanksgiving in the US being tomorrow, for those that don't know, the platform and Treasury call is going to be rescheduled to the following week. So there is going to be no call tomorrow. But this is probably something maybe that we can bring up internally, Ty, and then maybe just ask the Treasury team to kind of put some stuff together for year 3 budgetary provisions, so that we can start planning ahead as to what we have available and where do we want to use those funds, essentially.
Yeah, no, nothing more to add. I did just for the benefit of Boo and Eric, I did put together a kind of cash book, very simple cash book in and out type spreadsheet that automatically downloaded the information from a Polyscan view of the TELx Council Safe wallet. I haven't updated that since I first distributed that spreadsheet, which is probably 2 months ago now, Andrew?
It's been a while since I think we've updated it. Yeah.
Over the next week or so, and certainly before our next meeting, I'll update that just to see how we're looking, because it's a good way of getting a summary rather than trying to work out from Polyscan. It's not the spreadsheet's not sophisticated, nor is it meant to be. So I'll update it, publish it through Slack again as an attachment, and everybody can have a look at it that's on the council, and then we can progress the discussions from that point onwards.
No, that's good, Ty. And I think part of one of those recent proposals too, I think through Storm Partners as well, there's going to be some accounting services that they're going to be providing and helping us out with in terms of the taxes and accounting. So I think this might fall under them down the road. But if you want to do the update, I think it's good just for the new members to see kind of how things operate. Essentially, what we're going to see in that accounting is basically, we have a starting point. I think it was 200 million. Every month you're going to take out, the balancer rewards, because those get auto renewed on a monthly basis, and then you'll likely see on a weekly basis what the rewards are for the Uniswap pool. So it's more just making sure that we're following where our budget is and we're not overspending, all that kind of stuff. I know we had a few audits that we had to manage this year in year 2, and that had additional costs that we needed to take into consideration. But it's more just to make sure that we're on top of things, we're not overspending, and we're putting our resources to proper protocols and policies, so to speak.
I mean, where it doesn't really shed any light on anything is payments, bills that are committed or are due for payment in terms of TEL amounts. And I don't know when the actual accounting year finishes. I'm not that immersed.
I think from that perspective, like that sounds like a treasury kind of storm, right? And especially if there's reoccurring payments that might not necessarily be from our budget. But valid point. I think we're going to get a little bit more structured, a little bit more organized going into year 3, with Storm helping out with that kind of stuff. So I would say look forward to that in probably the next couple months. Okay, any other questions on Treasury before we jump into Merkl? Looks good. Okay, so Merkl, like I said at the onset of the meeting, Nick, Leo, and I had a pretty good meeting with our CEO. We kind of went through, what Merkl is. We went through on our side, obviously, a little bit of what, Telcoin is, TELx, what we're trying to do, and then just talked about, some potential collaboration and whatnot. So I'll just kind of go through just a quick summary of what Merkl does from a very high level for those of you that are not aware. So Merkl is an on-chain incentive distribution platform that helps protocols, wallets, chains, and DAOs design, launch, and manage reward programs, which obviously constitutes of incentives, potential lending and borrowing of rewards, airdrops, token holding rewards, or points or grants, things of that nature. So they provide a self-service studio plus an app to surface campaigns to users. They have analytics and eligibility controls, so like blacklists, boosts, cross-chain distribution, reward forwarding, all that kind of stuff, and claim to power incentives to most major DeFi protocols, right? So big things, again, just to speak to them, is they've got 200 million plus in incentive distributed for 150 different protocols and chains, and partnership case studies that include Uniswap, Aave, Morpho, Trust Wallet, Arbitrum, and Optimism, right? So they're pretty well known. Support for concentrated liquidity incentives, so specifically the Uniswap V3, V4, and other CLAM pools. So CLAM is the concentrated liquidity AMMs. Lending and borrowing incentives, token holding rewards, airdrops, grant distribution, stablecoin, TVL projection strategies. They've also got features for eligibility rules, like we said, with blacklists, with the just-in-time that we kind of saw with the temporary rewards we were doing with initially with V4. So again, there's some more due diligence that I think we need to do in terms of that. But it's interesting to see, what they do, what we're looking to do, and what, collaboration and synergies we might be able to see in the future. I would say after our due diligence, we'll probably have a secondary meeting with them, and obviously anybody new on the TELx Council, Eric and Boo, and Ty and Mike, yourself, if you guys want to join that next call, then you guys are more than welcome to. And then potentially, seeing how things go, maybe try to do something, for the first half in 2026, just to kind of see how it works, and then kind of take things from there. Ty, I see you have your hand up.
Yeah. I think it's all really interesting. Certainly the Merkl documents that I've read through, but I think from a council's point of view and where we should be going, and I've mentioned this in the Slack conversations, our mission, I think, this year is to take a step back and see how our whole distribution mechanism works in terms of all the pools, and how we can facilitate probably a better way going forward, rather than the 6 pools that we've got and having to deprecate one pool to start another. That's not sustainable. And certainly when we come on stream with the stablecoin pools that we want to incentivize for maybe a fixed period, we need a much more flexible, a better thought out mechanism of distributing TEL rewards. So that, I think, is where our focus should be in the early part of this discussion, because we need to get our ideas straight and then see how we can implement it. And Merkl's probably one of the solutions we could use. But I think we need to work on our strategy of distribution.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you on that point. And I know we've kind of brought it up. Oh God, this is probably at the start of, last year. I know me personally, dealing with kind of DFX and that ecosystem, and, the VE vote escrow model. Like maybe there's, some legs that we kind of look at there to see how that works. And essentially, we have voting power via, your liquidity within the pools to then vote for where rewards should be going, that way. And maybe that's a little bit more, better distribution. It's a little bit more decentralized. It's, from the community, by the community, for the community, so to speak. But I would totally agree with you on that point, Ty, where, that should be a focus of ours of how do we bring this to the next level, so to speak. Okay. Any other questions on Merkl before we kind of go? I got one more thing I was going to ask before we jump into the Q&A. But if there's nothing on Merkl, then Mike, I'm going to put you on the spot. I saw pictures of you on X being in Washington for the signing of the document. I want to hear some stories.
Oh yeah, so that was actually up in Lincoln, Nebraska.
Even better.
Weekend, almost 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago today, actually. That was pretty exciting. I've been obviously a long time Telcoin fan, and Paul's my cousin, and been on board since the beginning. And I was up there in Nebraska in 2021 where we Paul was testifying to the legislature on the bill itself. And so this was my second trip up to Nebraska to kind of bring it home. So that was a lot of fun, getting to meet the governor, and just a very surreal event, and it's really important. Like it's something that is under the radar still in the crypto sphere, and that's okay. But like that's gonna not last very long. I think we're gonna really do some amazing things with that charter, and really puts Telcoin on the map as a sort of legitimate traditional crypto finance platform, if you will. So it's very exciting, and it was really cool to go up and spend some time with Paul and the guys, and and just really was happy to be able to just jump up there for the day.
Yeah, I think we're all jealous of you. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for providing that. I appreciate it, and sorry for putting you on the spot, but I knew you were.
Oh, not at all. I was
ask.
excited. I tried to jump on at the end, like I was like in Nebraska. I was in my car. I was heading back to Kansas City, right at the end of the TELx call 2 weeks ago. I tried to jump on at the very last second, and I just heard, "Okay, well, that about wraps it up." And I was like, "Oh shoot."
Well, you had more important things too.
Yeah, but it's exciting, like that's why I think it's really important for us to have this last year where we really kind of struggled with processes, figuring out how to go, how to get things done. I think we're going to need to be more efficient, in this coming year, and because there's going to be the changes are going to be far more rapid, and in order to adapt the TELx platform and incentives, that if we want to align ourselves with the mission of EXYZ and whatnot, now we have to figure out how many, what pools, what to just, all that stuff. But we're going to have to probably start being a little bit more concentrated and getting things done, which I think we will be able to do now with a year under our belt, knowing how long it takes to get stuff done.
Yep. We've learned a lot, I would say, in the last year. And to your point, again, I think we'll get better, we'll get more efficient, we'll get more organized, and things will start to run a little bit smoother. So that's good. Boo, I noticed you had your hand raised again.
Yeah, just for a bit of fun, and this is nothing I know too much about, but I wonder if there's an excuse to mint some limited edition NFTs for the Telcoin Bank. I'll let you guys think about that.
I like the idea. Let's talk to Leo, and maybe we can try to get something going. For OGs, I like it. Good. Okay. Looking at questions, I'm not seeing too many anymore in the chat. I'll maybe give it another couple seconds here while I am talking to see if there are any other questions. If not, we will reconvene at our next meeting, which is scheduled for December 10th. Again, 3 p.m. Eastern. After that, we're obviously going to skip the 24th for the holidays. And then after that meeting in 2 weeks on the 10th, we will come back on January 7th. Ty, you had a comment?
Yeah, just I know we did have that schedule that you drew out kind of at the beginning of last year.
Yep.
This is the last entry on it for this November. So obviously with the new members, we'll need a kind of new schedule just so people are clear what their commitments are and who's hosting. I think it worked well. I think that whole thing worked quite well last year. So I propose just continuing it. So yeah, we just need to update it.
Yeah, nope, sounds good. I'd say let's lean on the existing council members probably for the next couple, and then we can get Eric and Boo involved with hosting and putting the agendas together a little bit later in the year, start of the year, I should say.
Break them in gently.
Well, I kind of joked around with Boo. I said, "Hey, you got your mic working, so yeah, you're gonna host today." Initiation, but all good. All right. Well, it sounds like question-wise we're good. I want to thank everybody again for the time today, and we will reconvene in a couple of weeks. All right. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.